bespoke garden design, and we like to really focus on the bespoke side of things. People don't want to always buy the generic products that you can get in the shop for their gardens, so we like to really make an effort to fit into what the customer wants around their lifestyle. And it's me and my husband at the moment. We started the business just last year, so we're still quite new, learning some of the trades and stuff, which is why we've come on to your question this time this morning.
Yeah, absolutely. What's your husband's name, Rach?
His name's Jake.
Jake. And the name of your company, Bespoke Garden Design.
That's it, yes.
Great name.
Thank you.
I think even in the name itself, do you think that people look at that and read a lot from that? That sort of gives them a little bit of clarity.
Yeah, we like to think that, and we set up our website and we really made an effort to focus on the things that we enjoy the most about the garden, with choosing the pictures that we use and stuff. So I think they have a positive response so far, and all the customers that we've been dealing with, we've actually done bespoke designs for everyone. Nobody's had the same design, so it's been so enjoyable so far for us as well.
Yeah, fantastic. Do you know, I think the thing is, Rach, did you and your husband, did it take a long time to find that name and come up with that name, Bespoke Garden Design?
I have to admit, Jake's very creative and good at picking names, so it all came from him. He just knew straight away that's what he wanted it to be, so we're quite lucky there.
Well, I think it's good because what it does, it gives people clarity right from the word go. You know, there's lots of different names out there. You know, groundwork services, landscape services. But I think what you're doing with that name, you are defining your client base.
Yeah, definitely. We don't just focus on one area. It is a full-on design. It's not just a one part landscape or one part planting or whatever. It's everything that's included. So.
Okay, so what's your role in the business? What do you do? What's your role?
My side of it is to do the finishing touches. I make things look pretty at the end. Jake by trade is actually an engineer, so he's very good at the measuring and the designing and the skill side of it all. You know, particularly in woodwork, that's kind of our speciality. And then I come along at the end and do all the pretty stuff with the planting and the painting and the finishing touches.
Well, I think that's a great combination. When you do you have any feedback of your clients about your partnership? Do they take note of this, of your what you do?
Yeah, definitely. I think it is very obvious. Jake is the brain box of it all, bless him. So, and yeah, I chat too much. That's what the feedback is. I like to stand with a cup of coffee and have a wee chat and watch him do the hard work.
Yeah, but that's a good combination, isn't it? Like, so who goes out and sees the client and prices the jobs? How do you go about that?
Yeah, generally we go out in a pair when we can do so, so that we can get the right measurements and such. So it is we are really lucky. We have our skills covering a wide area.
Yeah.
Of the job. So.
Yeah, well, that's good, isn't it? And to be honest, that's very similar with Alison and myself. Like, you know, I've actually had Rach, just to let you know, people say to me, the reason you're out here pricing this job is because of your wife. So the first point of call they had with the company was my wife, and they spoke to her, and it's the same with you?
Yeah, generally. So I kind of keep on touch with the email side of it all that we get through, and then arrange for the consultation. So yeah, I guess we've just fallen into these roles naturally.
Yeah, and you say that you've only been trading just over a year now.
Just under a year now, John, and yeah, it wasn't the best time to be starting, obviously, in the middle of the pandemic when supplies were limited and getting hold of some things wasn't the easiest, as you know. But we were very grateful that we had the time together. You know, both of our jobs sort of reduced what we were doing before. So it really gave us a chance to focus fully on actually creating this dream job that we both love doing. So
Yeah.
for us,
Well,
it's definitely a long-term future now, and it's very exciting.
yeah, just picking up on what you actually said there in respect of, you said that you started during a difficult period, but they say that people who come through these difficult periods and start business in these difficult periods, it should just be a dream later on when things start unfolding and easing up a little bit. I think what you've done is admirable, really, to say the least. It sounds to me as if you guys love a challenge.
No, bless you. Thanks very much. And, a lot of the inspirations come from watching videos like yourself, and we've learned a lot of things that we didn't already have the knowledge about from your kind of videos. It's been a big help, and, we're really grateful to have the contact with you now.
No, not at all. Thank you for saying that. I think the thing is, Rach, I think, when you're building a community, that's what I'm about, is that I always felt that landscapers, they don't talk to each other in general. If you see them in the merchants, they all seem as if they don't want to give anything away. But the fact is, the knowledge we build up it's not ours, is it? We're only leasing it, and there's nothing wrong with sharing. And do you ever feel, and this is a question and an observation, is that for me, that I don't ever see any other landscaper as competition, because I am my only competition.
Absolutely. We sometimes say that we take too long on our jobs because we really spend a lot of time on the finer details. Almost OCD. It's about making sure every single measurement matches. It's things that the client would never notice, but it's only for our own, to make sure that we can sleep at night and not think, oh my God, we've done something wrong there. That wouldn't even affect any part of the structure or whatever, but it's just, we're definitely our own competition. And each time we go out and we just want to do a better job than we did on the last one.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't you think, to be honest, Rach, that's a really nice feeling that you can go to bed knowing that you've done your utmost to deliver for that client, and you know that really the odds of waking up in the morning and having a problem is limited, isn't it?
It is, and that's another joy of sort of working for your own business. The problems are there to be solved by you, and it's not put on you by anybody else. You create the problem and you solve it, and it's a very satisfying feeling, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think also what you said there was about attention to detail, and belt and braces is what you're doing, isn't it? And you're putting into practice a very old method of dealing with things on a day-to-day basis, and it just makes you feel better, doesn't it?
Definitely. Walking away at the end of the day and seeing that you have done a good job, and every garden we've done, we've gone, oh, I wish this was my garden. So we always take that as a good sign.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny that you say that. Like, I know that when things are good is when I say to the customer at the end of the job, I wish this was my garden. I wish I was taking them. Yeah. And do you still feel that garden, though you've created that garden, it still feels like as if it's yours, it's your creation, isn't it?
It is, definitely. Yeah, you put the passion into it, and the things that some people just don't understand and can't visualize, and when you pull it all together and they're like, oh wow, this is so much better than I was expecting, that's really definitely the reward at the end of it.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that. Those words they say at the end when they say, I never expected it to look so good and to turn out like it has. Is that a good feeling? Can you look back at those feelings, and when people say that now, can you remember certain times on certain projects where clients have said that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, particularly when you're in the middle of the rain and the mud, and it looks as though you're never going to get to the end of it, and then by the time you finish and the sun comes out and you get those final pictures, oh man, it's just, you're so glad that you fought through those hard times, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Good things don't come easy, do they? And that's why they're a little bit sweeter at the end when you've delivered and you see that customer's face, knowing that it's not just about the money, is it, Rach? Come on, is it? It's not about the money.
Definitely not, no. I'm sure you know as well, John, after so many years in the trade that, you sacrifice your potential profit sometimes because you want to get the extra step on the garden and just make it 100%.
Yeah, absolutely, totally. I totally agree with you.
And you know, well, it kind of that comes down to a personal choice, though, doesn't it? A lot of landscapers that, like you said, wouldn't be the ones that would want to share their tips and skills, etc. They're the ones that you like to think, well, I might be more expensive, but think I'm going to do a better job than you because I really care about my work.
Yeah,
I'm not in it just for the money. So.
absolutely. You know, Rach, I got to ask you, because we're all entitled to an opinion. If you were to, comment on, if you had an opinion on something, what do you feel is flawed about the landscaping industry in the UK today? What do you think is flawed and how we could improve on it, or can we?
Well, that's a good question. I guess the flaws really come in the way that some of the companies, they've been lucky in terms of their startup costs have been able to be created from other places. You know, a lot of people can start up with a lot of money, they can get the top end equipment, and that just makes them instantly look so much better. And unfortunately, to a customer, you're going to choose the person that's got the fanciest van and looks the most professional, but it doesn't necessarily mean they did the best job.
No.
And we started this middle of the pandemic. We both had other jobs, and it was a completely different situation. We did one bit at a time, and we've been building it up. We know the end goal for us, what we want to have soon. And it's just a bit tricky to make people choose us. We know that we can do the job so good. This is without sounding big-headed.
No, that's fine. But that's just confidence, Rach. And there's nothing wrong with believing in what you feel that you can do. That's a good thing. That's not being big-headed at all.
Yeah, and you have to believe in yourself, don't you? Or else you're not going to do the job as well as you know you can.
Rach, if you don't believe in yourself, no one else is going to believe in you. And when people see that belief, they see confidence, and then that's when they'll actually start buying. They will buy because they believe that you believe in what you're doing is a good thing. I think when you look at a business as a whole, any business, no matter what you're doing, there is going to be a checklist on how you can improve certain elements of your business. You know, how you market yourself, how people see you, when you go out and see a client. You know, is less best, or is talking a little bit better? I don't know. What's your opinion? Do you feel that sometimes you go and see a customer, they just want a price, they don't want to talk to you, or do you need to talk to them and tell them a little bit about what you do and what makes you tick as a person, not just as a business?
I think definitely communication is key, as it is through many sectors, and I think having top-class communication with the customer, so making them understand the things that you really they would benefit from in their garden. And when people come, you go to the gardens and they say, oh, can you give us a rough price? And it's so difficult to do immediately, but you don't want to put them off. You need to do all the research, you need to know what your material costs are going to be, because they vary so much.
Yeah.
And I think that's so hard to do, to just give someone a rough price off the top of your head, but they always expect it.
Well, I think the thing is, Rach, what you've got to try and do, you've got to be transparent right from the start, and product knowledge and where to get these products and know about your products is so important. For example, if you're talking about plants, it may be the case that your local nursery that everyone else goes to, it could be great, but it just so happens that on that day, when you take your client to go along to have a look at some of those plants, it might not just be a good day. They might be just having a bad day. And the same is about paving products and timber products. You could be working with a company for a long time, and then they just fail to deliver for whatever reason. But you need to have those contingency plans in place. So, for example, you say to your customer, "I've bought some fantastic trees and shrubs from this nursery in the past. Let's go down and have a look, and let's just see what we can find." And then what you're doing is you're preempting the possibility that it might not be good on that day, depending on who's watering the plants, you know?
Yeah, of course, and different seasons and stuff as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you actually take your clients to the nursery sometimes, or a garden centre, to have a look at the types of plants that they may want in their garden?
No, but it's not something we've done yet, John. Obviously, we've had some clients that want to do their own planting, and we've
Yeah.
had clients, men in particular, who have absolutely no idea about planting. So I kind of just sort of basically show them some pictures, do a bit of research about, you know, what they want in terms of maintenance. So go for low maintenance, what positions of the garden and such, and I just give them a list of things to say, would you be happy to look at the window at these?
Yeah.
And then I take it from there myself. So, but it's a good idea actually.
Well, Rach, you know, could I suggest that what I actually do occasionally is that it's great when you can show a customer, you know, it's so easy to go on your phone, you can just Google a plant. You know, what I normally do is I get them to have a little walk around the area where they live, because usually that's a good indicator of what plants is growing in that garden. And I have a little walk around the area, the neighbourhood, and they say, oh, I like that, John, I like that one. And then what I do is I always try and invite customers, when I have that opportunity to do the planting, to go down to a garden centre, just have a little wander around. I ain't worried about the prices in there, and they're letting them see in that, because they're paying you for your labour and your knowledge. And the fact is that you may be sourcing your plants from a nursery as opposed to a garden centre. But when you're able to walk them around, they can get the feel for that Acer palmatum, that Miscanthus sinensis, that silver feather, and how the acoustics, the sound, the feel of it, and they can see it and not just see it on the phone, you know. And then you can just maybe pull a few plants out from the stands and say, look, this is what we can do in your corner. We can put maybe a silver birch, and then maybe some dogwood, some Kesselringii, some red stems. So you have that winter colour, the Jacquemontii or the Youngii with a nice white trunk on there, then a Kesselringii with no leaves on there, and you can explain about the underplanting. And all of a sudden, it's like you're telling a story, but they can actually see the visuals and touch it and hear it and just see the colours, you know?
Yeah, definitely. It's something that some people really struggle with, isn't it, to visualise when something's not there. So that's a really good idea. Thank you.
No problem at all. And again, and like you said, and you're absolutely correct, it's really hard to sort of visualise those situations for a client, because you can actually explain, you can show a picture, and you can do a drawing in plan view, you can do an axonometric drawing, a perspective drawing, and they still won't get it, Rach. So I think you need... No, they don't, do they? So you need to sort of get your sort of acting skills together and just get them out and say, look how this plant works with this colour, and this plant, the leaves, the starches and the colloids start working in autumn. And I think you need that enthusiasm, don't you?
Definitely. That's kind of my role in... I used to do a lot of drama when I was younger, so I think that I can sort of really buzz things up a bit, and which helps out a bit.
That's not a bad thing, though, is it?
Not at all, no. And I love that. That's my favourite part of it, the planting. And when someone says they want to do the plants on their own, I'm quite gutted about it.
Yeah, Rach, listen, I think that's just the process that you go through. But I think one of the things that you probably need to do is that when you market your business, is that you need to clearly say of all the services that you actually offer. And I think if you push that, and again, using social media to get that message out there is important, because they sometimes a client's perspective of a landscape business is about paving the hard landscapes, okay? And so I think when you start getting your marketing out there and sharing, my advice to you, Rach, if I was going to give you any advice, is to be relevant.
Yeah.
You've got to be relevant, and unless you're posting about it, you know, you're not relevant. And you've got to remember is that, you know, Google is the biggest search engine in the world. You need to you can actually, on Google My Business, you can share your posts on there, you know, about what you're doing in the day. And sometimes people want to know people buy into people. They don't necessarily buy into that corporate field, because we need to be sociable. Human beings are sociable, so we need to be sociable and use these social platforms in that way.
Yeah, that's definitely a good piece of advice, and we have tried, and we have some issues with Google, but hopefully they're all settling out now, and we will. I think in the summer it makes a big difference when people can see, oh, it's sunny outside, I want to be outside, and it's difficult at this time of year to give people the motivation to go ahead and start thinking about all that.
Well, like I said, the only thing you've got to think that way, Rach, is that when you get up in the morning, what you've got to do is post and talk about the things that you like, that you want to do. Actually say that. Just imagine you're on Google in the morning, and you're doing a post, you've got a perfect picture, and the picture could be of a tree that's in bloom during spring, and we're in the winter period. You say, can't wait to see this Magnolia stellata blooming in the garden, really looking forward to see a certain type of plant, or a certain part of the garden. I can't wait to use this part of the garden, but I can sit down there at that little bespoke table and chairs and have a cold glass of wine at the end of the day. And you've got to paint that picture, and we've got to be like the modern contemporary artists of the past, like Monet, and how he was producing and painting those pictures. And that's what we got to do, because if we don't do that, we're going to stagnate. And what that will do, that will put you at the forefront, Rach. It really will. Talk about the things that you want to see as well. Talk about the future. The future is not a bad thing. You need to remind people and give them that really feel good factor. Do you see my point?
Definitely, John. Yeah, no, that's a very good point. Thank you.
No, please don't think that I'm preaching. I just think that I just want to share what I do and how I go about things. So, look.
Well, you've been in the business 36 years, so you know how the algorithm works, and we come to you for the advice. So thanks.
No, that's fine, and I guarantee you that I'll come to you for some advice in the future at some time. So it's not just, this is a reciprocal exchange. That's the idea of doing these live call-ins as we're doing them now, to see if people will learn, and we promote good dialogue, isn't it?
Definitely. I think we do definitely want to start the YouTube side of things as well, and finding a space in there just that we can slot into that's going to be different and attract people to us.
Rach, honest now, I think what you've got to try and do is produce your content. If you're not producing content, what you've got to remember is, if Van Gogh or Rembrandt or Monet had video, they'd be doing cartwheels now. They would be doing cartwheels. The thing is about the video, you pick up the acoustics. The only thing you can't do is the smell. It's all the senses. You pick up you can see the movement in the plants. You can hear the rustling of the bamboo, and you can see the change in the weather. So and the change in the colours. So you could produce a video that you could basically demonstrate how a tree will change through the season, and that the seasonal interest. And that in itself is content that people want to look at. And my advice is that there's nothing wrong with producing content as I do, okay, that's absolutely fine. But what people want to see, they want to see something that's engaging, okay? There's a lot of things with time lapse at the moment, and people like to see the change quickly, and that's how you hold people into having a look. And I guarantee you, Rach, if you did start producing some lovely, nice videos that you can share, what you'll find is that people will look at your videos before they'll even call you. You're in the door.
That's good then.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I would say is, what you need to do today, be proactive, open a YouTube account and get it done, and think how you're going to do it. Get your logo done. Think how you're going to have that banner and how it's going to appear to your marketplace.
Yeah, you've given me some really good ideas actually. I do want to go out in the snow now and start doing some videos.
Well, what I would do is I know that you were talking about the Google My Business, but what I would do, I would use Google My Business almost the same way as you use in Facebook. The thing is, Rach, people say to me, how do you have time to do so much, John, with all your social media? Well, you've got to make time. Yes, there are times when you put your phone down and you turn it off and you leave it in the kitchen out the way. That's fine. But when game day's on, you've got to hit the ground running.
Definitely, yeah.
So where's Jake today? Where is he?
He's sitting in the other room doing some drawings. Actually, we've got a couple of summer houses that we've got coming up. So it's just trying to fit in, the customer's designs. They're both very different designs. So one's contemporary, one's more country style. So it's just a bit of research on that.
Do you and Jake have a real? Do you share the same likes, or are you very different?
No, we're very similar. We like the same things, but sometimes there's obviously disagreements and everything, isn't there?
Yeah. But that's what I suppose the next question is: do you have your moments on site, or do you wait till you get home?
We do have discrete moments on site. Generally, is me.
Yeah, that's the real. That's great. That's absolutely great. Rach, if there was anything else that I can help you with now that you feel that you want to ask me, just feel free and let's see if I can answer that question. And if I haven't got the answer for you today, I will get back to you. So fire away.
We have discussed recently, but it's just trying to get this client to have to understand that material costs are so high and the amount of labour that goes into it can be hours and hours. And people just seem so put off by prices. It's just a bit disheartening sometimes, isn't it?
Well, it can be, but it can also be an opportunity, and I think that's the thing about it. When everybody, the fact is about this industry we're in, nobody gives anybody any training in how to sell. I haven't seen it out there. Maybe there are some people that can do that, but I think when you're going along and you see a client, is that partners are different. Okay, they will think when you go and see a couple, they will think differently on regular occasions, and sometimes they think the same. And trying to get their attention is always going to be a difficult thing, because you could be talking about something and it's literally going over their heads. And I think when you turn up, you've got to give them the benefit of the time to let them talk, and you've got to be able to gauge that and to see if they want you to talk. And I think for me personally, the more I talk, the more they see everything. There's no hidden agendas. I love talking gardening. I love talking about product. Product knowledge is absolutely key, and it's whether they retain that information. You sometimes have to go back a number of times before they'll actually start retaining that information, and unfortunately that's the way it is. But I think as you move on in this industry, you will find your sales pattern, your pitch, the way you want to deliver it, and I'll be honest with you, we actually, when we go and see clients, when I give so much time and passion about what I do and the knowledge I have, I know there's people that are a lot more knowledgeable than me, but the knowledge I have, I value it and I value my time. We actually charge for those consultations. If they just want a quote without us going out and they send us the details, we'll give them a quote. But there's a little bit more to it than that, and that's what you need to tell them.
And do you find though that people are happy to actually pay for the consultation?
Absolutely. I'll tell you now, Rach, I think that the people that really are serious about engaging with you and commissioning you to do some work for them, when they see that, they know that you're a serious contender, okay? And the fact is, you can actually say to them, once we've given you a fully written, itemized quote and you go ahead with us, that will be refunded. And we're not talking mega amounts. What you've got to remember is that if you went to see a lawyer, if you went to see a private doctor, insurances, it's got to be paid for that consultation to go and see him. You've got to value what you're doing. And when you start valuing yourself, your client base will start valuing you. Your company's called Bespoke Gardens and Design. And so what that's saying is that you deliver bespoke gardens, and bespoke gardens are professionally delivered generally. So you've got to put yourself in that position.
Okay, that's very interesting actually. I would have thought the opposite. It puts people off. Because, a lot of people don't like to waste money.
Well,
And
I think you can. Yeah, you look. I think you only just start in business. Once you start producing a great portfolio of work, people will actually see you, and they'll value. It may be the case that you'll start attracting that type of clientele where you don't actually charge for that, and you know that you're in the door because you've had that recommendations. I think if you've had that recommendation, maybe you don't do it. But for us as a business, I'm not running around all the time going and seeing quotes. And I remember years ago going out and seeing six quotes in the day and getting the quotes quick. But how you're delivering those quotes will determine whether you're going to get that job as well. And when you're producing, it's almost like a production line. And your business is not per se a production line. It's a bespoke service. You're delivering a bespoke service, so you're sending a clear message. And bespoke means special. It's tailored to people's needs. You see. So I think when you start doing that, you're putting yourself. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? I suppose.
Yes, I don't know. That is it's really interesting. We always sort of make it quite obvious that we do the free consultations in the hope that people will say, oh well, we'll just go to this and get a quote and see. That might then rustle up the business for us. You make a good point to make it look a bit more professional.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when you've got like how we put our content on our website is that we name them as projects and they're all finished pictures. The content right now that Alison, my wife, does is exceptional. It really speaks volumes and people like the read. And of course, the technical side of it with the SEO, using those keywords is so important, especially when Google pick up on that. And there's a lot to know about business, but I suppose it's almost like with business and your business that you're running is almost like the highway code book. We get up in the morning, we put our seatbelts on when we get in the car, and we mirror signal maneuver. It becomes second nature. So never sort of be put off by all these things that you have to do because they just form part of your day.
Yeah, very good, thank you.
No, just one more thing. What's your mum's name?
My mum, Sandra.
Sandra, this is a big hello from Johnyboy and Alison on the Saturday morning sort of call-in. So hello, Sandra. Hello, Jake. Listen, if you need any help at any time, always feel free to give us a call, and it would be great to have you on here again. And maybe, with your permission, it'd be good to come and see you on site and have a look at one of your projects and feature it in the channel.
Absolutely, John. That'd be cracking. We'd love that.
Okay. Well, look, thanks very much, Racheal. It's been great talking to you, and let's try and send some pictures over and get your Instagram going. Let's have a look what you've been doing out in those gardens.
Lovely. I really appreciate your time today, John. Thanks so much.
No problem at all. Stay safe, Rach. Be lucky. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, there you are. That's Racheal and Jake, Bespoke Gardens Design in Sutton, Coldfield. That was interesting.